Afternoon. My name is Tracee Dunblazier, and I am the president of the Coalition of Visionary Resources. COVR is the trade organization for the Mind, Body, Spirit marketplace. We support businesses of all sizes that focus their products on mind, body, spirit topics or themes. And this is the COVR Chatcast. And today I've got a very, very special guest. She is the author of the extreme award-winning book, Artist, Shaman, Healer Sage, Katherine Skaggs. She is a prolific artist and author, and I'm just so excited to be able to speak with her today. So I'm going to click her in right this second.
Hi, Tracee. Hi, everyone.
Nice to see you.
It's great to be here. Thanks for asking me in.
Okay, so I mentioned that this is an award-winning book, but you cleaned up. So what was this book award total this year? How many awards did you take home?
So far, we've gotten 10. I don't know if we're in any other competitions, but we got the Nautilus Award, and I've got 2 awards with Indie Book Awards, and then 5 awards plus the Book of the Year and the Industry Choice Book of 2022 with COVR. So nice. Absolutely thrilled.
Yeah. And you know, rightfully so. We were just discussing this book is your shamanic Bible. It's the book that you want to have, and you'll have it for a lifetime and pass it down to all your loved ones when you feel complete with it. But there are so many offerings on every level about shamanism, about multiculturalism, and really understanding how to connect with yourself and the creator. So tell me first about your relationship as being an artist. How did you begin to be an artist, and tell me about your art?
Well, I've been doing art since I can remember. I've got an image of myself, a photograph, an old Polaroid, because I'm not a youngster, of me when I'm like 3 years of age at the drawing pad. And I began painting when I was 14 and wanted to go to art school. But as many artists get the message growing up, it was like, what are you really going to do? You're a good artist, but what do you? So I went to school, got another degree. But in my 20s, I was in curiosity as to, I wonder what it'd be like to go back to art school. And I had a boyfriend at the time who said, well, why not? Why not go? And I'm like, why not? So when I was 26, I went back and got a Bachelor of Fine Arts in Painting at Kansas City Art Institute. But then I got out, and I got into metaphysics and spirituality about the same time. So that's pretty good to see the two starting to happen. But when I got out, I didn't know what to do with it. And so, of course, I bartended and did my art, and I thought, I have no clue what to do with this. But later on, my spiritual path took me into opening a metaphysical store in my early 30s. And I saw work by Susan Seton-Boulay and Alex Gray at the time, and other visionary artists. And I wondered what it would be like for my art and my spiritual path to come together. So in my early 30s, I got a download. I had trained in metaphysics in a school and became a teacher and was running my metaphysical store. And I got guidance as to how to put my art and my spiritual path together. So I began some spiritual expressions of paintings back there, what I call my first visionary art paintings. But I also got a very specific guidance that was pretty amazing to do something called soul portraits. And I have to tell you, as an empath and intuitive and a little bit of a reluctant mystic at the time, I was like, excuse my language, oh shit, like me do that. I had 9 psychics who worked for me. I didn't want to be the one in the hot seat. But it absolutely has been part of my path to connect with people and paint their soul essence and give them a reading with it. So I've done thousands of those portraits at this point, and just continued to unveil my art. And actually one of my most significant projects started back in 2006, when actually it began before that, but the actual art began around the early 2000s, when Sage Holloway, author of The Mythical Goddess Tarot, had seen my art back in the early 90s, said, I think you're the artist for my Divine Feminine Tarot deck. And I go, okay. But that unfolded, and we published The Mythical Goddess Tarot in 2008. And that was born of 78 of my paintings. And
Wow.
it's just continued from there to build.
Yes, that's amazing. And how did you, I feel like you've been working on this for a lifetime.
You're right.
I mean,
It's
that's the energy that I get, is just that
yep,
this has been a compilation of everything you've ever experienced and what you feel is the most important for somebody who is putting together. There's a theme going on right now. I had a conversation with somebody earlier, and she was like, yeah, I have no idea what I'm doing. And I'm like, well, that's good, because it's when you think you know what you're doing that you tend to kind of get in the way. You tend to try to make it look a particular way, and it just, I mean, you're always going to end up on the path you're intended to be. So if you can just
yep,
go there with an open mind, more
yep.
more better. So
I agree.
that's what I feel like. All of the different paths that you've been on have led you to this. So how did you to discern or decide to start putting this to paper?
What's interesting is, like I was saying earlier, in my 20s, I got into metaphysics and spirituality, and I didn't think much of shamanism back then. It was mostly just my personal healing path, and of course, deep interest in the mystical that came about. And over the years, I always thought I'd study with a Lakota or some Native American shaman or teacher, and it never came about. I came close. I had people who came into my store, did book signings, or they did CD signings back then.
Right.
And, many years later, it was in the early 2000s, and specifically 2006, that I broke up from a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And at that time, of course, it was another initiation and a kick in the butt to like get some other support and expansion. And I kept hearing inwardly Sandra Ingerman. And I had sold her book, Soul Retrieval, back in the 90s. And it was very, very specific. So that led me down a path where I actually found a retreat she was co-teaching on with two shamans from Peru and Jose and Lena Stevens from the Power Path in northern New Mexico. And so I took that trip, and I got to meet her and work with her, but I turned and I started to work with the Power Path and became involved in a 2-year advanced shamanic program.
Mm-hmm.
And that led me to Peru, and that led me to the Andes and down into the jungle. It led me to Mexico to work with the Huichols, and it led me to work with the Caros out of the Andes. And it was multicultural. So it also revealed the Hindu and Buddhist influences I had earlier were part of a shamanic path. And I was like, I didn't even think of that. So that wove in, and I graduated from that program in 2010, though I continued to do intensive ceremonial and international travel to be with shamans and do their programs for the next 15 or more years. Wow. And I put together a program called Artist Shaman Healer Sage.
Mm-hmm.
And it started out probably as a 4-month program, but now it's a 6-month program. And we meet monthly to learn about the medicine wheel and multicultural teachings, to have an experiential approach to it, not just, sitting in a classroom, because that's not what this is about. It's about experience and this from your work. It's initiation, it's apprenticeship. We make our own tools. And so over the years, every year I teach it and just use it in my life, I'd go deeper and deeper and deeper. And I've been then I go on the road and do soul portraits or do my work with others in workshops. And they're like, how do you have a book? And so it's like I've been promising it for probably 6 or 7 years at least. And it came together weirdly. I say weirdly, nothing's really weird. Just a strange word I got from my parents probably. But or our culture or whatever. But it's absolutely, being a teacher, it's like I just want to make it available to as many people as possible, because that is the most fulfilling thing in the world, is to pay it forward. So it's a mixture of shamanism, metaphysics, universal laws and truths, ceremony and ritual, how to bring it into your life and make it practical. Our world is crazy, right? And everyone needs as much support as possible. And I found this whole resurgence with shamanism is actually to take the spiritual and to ground it through us. We're not here to ascend and leave our bodies. We're here to bring the light through us.
Right.
This is a very practical spiritual guide to make it something that you can embody, but also share with others and create community, if that's where someone's called. So.
one of the things I really liked, Julie Lohr
Yeah.
wrote the foreword on this, and one of the things that she said is that, you know, shamanism, we're hardwired for what we call shamanism. Shamanism is our relationship to the multidimensional world.
Yes.
And it's not only indigenous, but that's how we relate to it. Every first culture, that's how they participated with the world around them, and so it's natural to us. It's a natural state of being, and so to access that and apply that to the world that we live in today is really valuable.
It's like coming home to ourselves, you know, like
Exactly.
we have a GPS ingrained in
Exactly.
our spiritual beings and through our bodies. It's like we got to come home to that to heal the trauma, to come into harmony, to heal
Right.
fear, you know,
Right.
and to how to be happy.
Right. To experience joy.
Yeah.
You know, it's you were saying, you know, the word weird. There's a very old version of that word, like from the 1500s. I believe. Well, it's used in the Celtic
Yes.
pantheon, WYRD,
Yes.
and so that is, it means the void, the all that is unknown.
Well,
So
then it is weird.
it's totally weird. Exactly. So, so what I would like to do is I wanted to just do a little reading from whatever page came up, and I just pulled up chapter 5, the artist Shaman Healer Sage, which it's focusing on healing. Within your very being lives the healer, and I'm just going to read these key words that you have, and maybe a little bit of a paragraph, if that's okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. So within your very being lives the healer, shamanic medicine of the hollow bone, the magician, the shapeshifter, the power of alchemy. Animal totem is snake. Plant spirit medicine is the sacred tobacco. Stone spirit the stone spirit medicine is turquoise, and water to clean and to clear. Your healer shaman self knows that the true power of healing lives within you. Your soul is the only one who can heal itself through alignment with your own higher inner soul self, also aligned to the wholeness and love of Great Spirit. The healer knows no separation between the human body, her life force, and the energy of spirit. She understands that she is dreaming this life from soul to human self. The healer is the lucid dreamer who can transform her state of consciousness and experience. And I want to show this beautiful art piece. Let me see. There we go. I love, love, love that. Right? Because it really embodies our relationship to everything around us and how it's always hovering on every level. So tell me something else about what this experience was for you.
The painting or all of it?
Pull something out of the weird.
Well, I want to start with that painting, since you brought in with that and weave it back in, is that, like I said earlier, I've gone and studied, apprenticed with shamans down in Peru. And that is Owl Shaman Jaguar Medicine painting that was adapted for that page. It's actually a horizontal piece. But I did that after spending a week in Peru, sitting with shamans, doing what's called a plant diet. And one of the first, they'll do a series of plants where you diet at least, you know, it's for gringos. It's for us Westerners, you know, because typically the shamans, when they're in training, they may diet or drink a plant and pray with the plant medicine for months, minimum 30 days, not 7. But for us little gringo dietas, in preparing us, we would sit in prayer, and we would sit in silence, and we would fast all day, and we would drink basically what looks like a brew, a glass of some sort of liquid made from the plant. Well, the very first plant that you sit with is tobacco. Now, this is good to talk about because we have such a negative relationship with tobacco, because we have an unconscious relationship with tobacco.
Right.
And in Peruvian tribes and many Native American tribes and probably other places in the world, tobacco is a sacred plant meant to be prayed with, and is an excellent plant to use for clearing, to use for protection, and to use it as an ally, or many people call a spirit totem,
Yes.
to call upon it in its spirit form to help us to clean things out. It's very powerful male spirit energy. So I had sat with, and it's like drinking fire. So it's pretty intense for
Wow.
7 days,
Yeah.
and puts you in a little bit of a dreamy state. So I came out of that, and that I'd had visions of the owl shaman prior to coming, because I'd had some engagements with owl as one of my totems, some very specific things that happened before I went on this trip. And one of the things they say about the plant medicines when you diet with them is that they will activate on the 7th day if you do deep prayers with them. So there's green woven into the shaman, and it represents the plant's awakening.
Right.
So anyway, that was part of a representation of my experience. And we worked with also ayahuasca down there during that time. So the owl shaman is doing a healing on, I kept having someone show up to get a healing while I was there. And I'm like, they're in the ethers, they're not physically there. And I'm like, what are you doing in my experience here? And later, as somebody I just met on the phone who had cold called me to come do soul portraits in Florida, and we talked for 3 hours. So anyway, part of the experience was I kept having this visitor during and that's her coming to get a healing during my sessions. But I also had become the jaguar in one of my ceremonies. And so all that medicine is wrapped in there that represents complete healing and transformation. So that goes along with that chapter on the artist, shaman, healer, sage, the name of the book, because it's about that archetype that lives within us. You know, in this book, I talk about the artist archetype and the importance of embracing that, the shaman healer type, the healer, and the sage archetype. And, you know, I talk about the hollow bone in there, and the journey to being the healer and the conduit for spirit or the divine is to empty ourselves of our ego, our judgments, our fears, our traumas, so that we can let more and more light come through and become a vibrational tool of sorts, spiritual. You know, it's like I grew up Christian, and I'm like, well, I think Jesus was the greatest shaman ever. He's one of my guides. But I think about the stories of people getting healed by him, not by him sitting and doing work on them, but say the woman who touched his garment and had great faith, is because he had this great vibrational energy. Because he did his work and he became illuminated. And so this section addresses that healing part and the alchemy and the master magician who can transform energy. And it speaks to the essence of that. So it's like, you know, a life journey, right? We're in human form, we're great spirits, and then we get into these small little containers of our personalities. I'm like, oh, we're so great, but some days it's like we're about this big. So this is about inspiration and about how to work with these energies, and to have a practice just as important as brushing your teeth, that this is a practice of awakening these things and owning it in ourselves and evolving.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. Thank you so much. I think that for anybody who, I mean, I think this book is really for everyone, but it's for anybody who is looking to really acknowledge the alchemists in themselves and to honor all of the different aspects that they are, including the light and the shadow and the understanding that everything we have is what we need, and it's necessary, that we don't have to get rid of something. We have to better manage it and use it for our work. So
Tracee, I can't hear you.
You can't hear me? Well, I don't know. I'm assuming the people can hear me. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you, but
you can hear me?
I can hear you perfectly.
Oh, I don't know what happened.
Well, either way, so it's perfect because we're wrapping up. But I want everybody to know about artist, shaman, healer, sage, and Katherine Skaggs. Let's see. I'm going to show the book in the stream, and There we go. There's her book.
I would say something. Yes, I have products.
Yeah, you can write in the comments. KatherineSkaggs.com, I think. But let me, if you want to put in the comments, that wonderful discussion. Does Katherine Skaggs have any other products or books? Yes. So I think that she's addressing that in the comments section.
We're trying to. I see a question here. Can I say something to
Yes,
that?
yeah,
You can hear me.
yes,
I don't know why I can't hear you, Tracee, but
I don't know.
yes, there are other products to go along with this book, Artist Shaman Healer Sage. You can go to satyamapublishing.com and you can get the Mythical Goddess Tarot. We've got the Artist Shaman Healer Sage, or you can go to KatherineSkaggs.com. I've got some altar cards and some smaller card decks, and my services are on there. But also we have, with Satyama Publishing, we have a new deck, Master's Light Wisdom Oracle, that'll be coming out this fall. And we're going to be running a Kickstarter on that over the next couple of weeks. We'll get that going.
That's very exciting. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. And thank you, Satyama Publishing, for publishing this really amazing work, and for you for all the years that you put into these, the magnificent, how many pages? Over 220 pages of blessings in here. So thank you so much for taking time with me today. And for all of you here that are joining me with Cover, I'm going to say thank you to Katherine. There we go. And there we go. Thank you so much. There we go. So wasn't that amazing? Definitely reach out to Satyama Publishing or KatherineSkaggs.com to check out. They have an amazing array of work. And if you're not familiar with Cover, we are COVR.org. If you're in the mind, body, spirit marketplace or industry in any way, we'd love to hear from you. We'd love to have your voice as a part of our community. So definitely look us up and sign up and become a part of our community, because we are looking to have to hear every voice that is in our marketplace. So Sat, I just want to say, love others. So Sat wanted to include, he just wanted to say, to understand what, in order to love others, you must first have to love yourself. And he thinks that if you want to heal others, you must first learn to heal yourself. Absolutely. Means the same thing. So yes, so Katherine's book looks awesome. Thank you, Sat, for joining us today. And thank you all for joining us today. And again, Katherine Skaggs at KatherineSkaggs.com. Check her out. And this is Tracee Dunblazier from the COVR Coalition of Visionary Resources. We'll see you next time.